and mute. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Afternoon, Andy. How are you today?
I'm great, thank you very much.
Andy, I guess you and I have the same apartment complex.
With the same what complex?
It looks like it.
Oh yeah. We could be cohabiting.
We could be. That's hysterical.
It is hysterical. Two peas in a pod.
I know.
So I'm not sure where everyone is, but we will give them a little bit of time, a few minutes
Of course.
to join. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and start, and then as people show up, we'll let them in with that. So, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today, wherever you are. Whether in one of 9 regions and able to see us, we appreciate you attending today. So this session is focused on global intelligence and security, and that is not as an abstract construct. Now, there are people messaging to send the online conference link, and they should just check their emails. That's all I can say. Today's conversation is designed to be practical, grounded, and forward-looking. And this is also recorded so that our community can get this information also, because not everybody can join us in their time zone. So we'll examine why intelligence often fails to translate into these failed security outcomes, and what must change to close that gap. And so today I want to welcome our guest VIP, Mr. Andy Jenkins, and we'll give him the floor in a little bit for any opening remarks or whatnot. I also want to introduce some of our staff and our behind the scenes. It doesn't just take one person to run an organization of this size. It takes many people. But on our education side, I want to welcome our registrar, Mrs. Alida Boucher. She is with us today from South Africa. And then our IT director, Jean-Pierre Fouché, very well known in our community. And so having the relief of knowing we have a career veteran cybersecurity expert behind our organization, managing security, not just when things happen, but on a daily basis, he's managing things. Next is an instructor, staff adjunct professor, Dr. Hunter Taylor. He comes from us, I believe, from Colorado.
Great name.
Yeah, Hunter Taylor, right? And then one of our enrollment specialists, director, Mr. Bernard Villagomez, whom I've known for many years, leading the enrollment team. Now, a little bit of the background. Global Counter-Terrorism Institute started in 2019 with a mission to educate global students. We started international from the very get-go. Our organization started out developing curriculum for what was needed at that time, which was a master's in international security studies, which was a combination of international affairs and international relations. yes, many institutions cover political science and international affairs and that, but they lack one thing, and it doesn't require theory. It requires operational, which is tactical and technical experience in international security, regardless of what treaty is in place. There is always other things that happen in the background. And that specifically relates to counterterrorism. When you get right down to it, whether it's transnational crime, whether it's money laundering, there's always a motive. There's always something in the background. And so GCTI put together curriculum based on that, which was operationally driven to the point of having the experience, and then it was automatically picked up by probably one of the most premier institutions in the forefront of countering terrorism, which was France. France has more terrorist attacks than most countries, and they saw this as a need and picked it up. And so here we are today, later with 2 master's degrees, master's in cybersecurity with an emphasis on intelligence and global security, not just cybersecurity, because cybersecurity is just a word that gets thrown around. And instead, we've created we created an area that we know that global intelligence and security is failing. Right? I mean, we're not living in a world short on intelligence. Data is everywhere. Data is abundant. We know that. And reporting is constant. Yeah, I don't know how you, but we get alerts, and I'll share that today in our AEGIS project, where we get alerts from all different organizations for active threats that are happening real time. Global security outcomes, well, they continue to deteriorate, not evolve. They continue to deteriorate. And maybe Andy would agree with this, that the failure point is not collection of this, it's the decision making. Because intelligence without authority, context, and governance just becomes noise. And then it becomes polarized by opinion and biases. Now, reactive security models respond after escalation, not before it. And in a multi-domain threat environment like we have now, delay is defeat. And so, in the global intelligence and security environment, and that is part of what we've begun with the AEGIS project, is an analytical engine for global intelligence and security. That's what AEGIS stands for. And it's designed to integrate intelligence across cyber. We began with the DTM, right, the dynamic threat model. That overall functional, many algorithm built model with the mathematical science behind it, that's now patent pending. It was just the micro framework we needed to begin. And now, with global security being, 10 verticals, there are different areas of global security that people have to look at. And so they specialize in these areas. But just like agencies, and when it becomes terrorism, relating to terrorism, the information gets siloed. Yeah, we have Joint Terrorism Task Force, but still, that's only on, the preparation. It's on anti-terrorism. It's not based on counterterrorism, which is a little different. And so AEGIS was designed to integrate the intelligence across these verticals: cyber, geopolitical, informational, human domains, to analyze risk and intent, to support the security decisions, not just reporting. And AEGIS is not GPT based. It's not a chatbot. It's not a dashboard. It exists to convert intelligence into actionable security outcomes. And so as we talk about global intelligence and security, it's important to ground this discussion in real world practice, not just theory. Now, Andy Jenkinson brings a practitioner's perspective on where security, cybersecurity, and global security strategies succeed and where they fail. I've seen his posts, and I'm sure many of you have seen his posts. And they're quite pragmatic, calling out agencies. And yes, when you see some of these posts, and if you're not familiar with what TLS is, or DNS, or things like that, I'm sure Jean-Pierre, he completely understands what that is because he manages the DNS structure for our organization, which is very large at this moment. And so, Andy, I want to thank you for joining us today. And there's a few questions that I think you and I can opine on and hopefully share this in our community a little bit later today.
Sure.
So I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself.
Okay.
So the audience has a better understanding of exactly who you are and what you do.
And they can leave if they choose to.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hunter, I love that name. Dr. Hunter Taylor, what a great name. I love it. I might get me one of those as well.
Sure.
Okay, so look, my background is in technology, like 30 years of technology. We did some major projects here in the UK for Sun Microsystems and Oracle and others. At the time, they were £12 billion projects. You know, they were huge. They were as big as Europe had. I think they were one of the biggest in the world at the time. And these guys had to be security cleared, et cetera, et cetera. And this is going back to the late 1990s, early 2000s. No one thought of security apart from security cleared. Okay, so if they were a villain, they couldn't get a job. But if they were selling stuff on the dark web and a coke dealer or something else in their part-time, no one gave them monkeys. Their emails could be sent anywhere. Now, if we then come forward to the late 2009 onwards, we were involved in governance, risk and compliance, and we got involved in that area. And we all had a bit of a eureka moment and said, oh, shit, no one's thought about security in this area. People are ticking boxes and signing a compliance form and pretending that they've got security covered when indeed they hadn't anything like it. So in 2018, I started a company called Cybersec Innovation Partners, which predominantly at the time started in PKI, public key infrastructure. For those that don't know, that's the encryption keys and digital certificates. I actually wrote a paper on this called The Modern Enigma of Digital Certificates, which was a play on the Enigma machine. It was a good article in 2019. So, Todd, you're perfectly right. In security terms, although security, we'll look at history in a minute, it goes back to the mid-80s into the mid-90s for domain name system, DNS, that Dr. Paul Mockapetris invented in 83 to 86. And then DNSSEC came out in about 15 years after that. People genuinely don't know what they're doing with that. And most companies outsource that. They outsource it and think they're outsourcing responsibility and accountability, which is the biggest mistake they can make.
Yes.
Please don't start me off on the conspiracy theory that says that the NSA want people not to know because they're using DNS for surveillance. That's a fact. Since 2001, since 9/11, the atrocities of 9/11, DNS was already being exploited, but it went mainstream exploitation. Okay, in the last 15, 16 years, DNS has been exploited by bad guys because Edward Snowden and other people told them, wrongly or rightly, you make your own call, how to do it and how the NSA and CIA were doing it. So we've got a situation today. Does anyone know a lady called Carol Cadwalladr? She's an English journalist. She was BBC, and she's done some TED Talks, and she gave Satya Nadella a hard time along with Mark Zuckerberg and others, saying you're fucking the world. Excuse my language, that's what she said, because they weren't thinking of security, they were just thinking about the greenback.
Right.
And that's all they were interested in. So they didn't care about security. And we had a situation with Microsoft some time ago that we said to them, you've got all of these exposed websites, which is what the bad guys are looking to exploit. And they said, oh, thanks for that. Don't tell anyone 6 months later. It's just pathetic. Now, they don't expect anyone to sue them because no one's got the balls to, or the buck, or the attorneys that aren't already working for Microsoft because they'd captured them all. Anyway, so look, the biggest problem we see, as Todd rightly said, you've got three variants of cybersecurity. You've got proactive, which is the only one you can bet your dollar on. You might not get it right every time, but if you're not proactive, you might as well go home. You got the reactive, which is, oh, the shit's hit the fan. We might want to do something about it. And yesterday I had a conversation with Dr. Chase Cunningham, Dr. Zero Trust, when a friend of his did a conference call. And they said, yeah, we're doing ransomware negotiation. And invariably, it's the perimeter defenses that are being breached. It's a VPN, it's an email, it's stupid stuff. It's not 0 days, it's stupid stuff. It's costing billions every day. And then you've got the last, which unfortunately a lot of people fall into, Todd, inactive. So you've got proactive, reactive, and inactive. And inactive fall under the, in my humble opinion, fall under the tick box compliance check. We're fine. You know, we go to the risk register. We've gone to the board. We've got compliance. We've done ISO 27001. We've got GDPR. We've got DORA. We've got all of these things. But, oh, look, we've got a website that's not secure because the certificate expired 3 years ago. And it's a login for clients and our teams. And we wonder why we're being exploited on a regular basis and people are getting our data and changing passwords. Hello? At the end of the day, 30,000 websites every day get exploited, hacked. Okay, that's the main route in. No matter what anyone else tells you, that's the main route people are getting access to organizations. And you'll get some guys, as we have, you know, Todd, I've most probably written 5,000 articles. You'll get some guys go, but it's what we call a brochure website. And I go, okay, so look, there's no login, but do you have emails? And they go, yeah. I said, is that email listed and linked to your website? Yeah. Which bit don't you understand then? I don't care what's on your website. If it's not secure, someone can get access. They can change the credentials. They can pretend they're you. Funny enough, just before we started the call, my colleague Neil called me because yesterday in 2019, I'll refrain from giving names under NDA, but others I'm happy to share with you. This particular company build and maintain Trident nuclear submarines. And we were given a program in 2019 to start in 2020 to look at their security and PKI internally. So we did some COVID-19 buggered everyone, as we know. We went in remotely as opposed to physically, and we discovered after a very short period of time Russian and Chinese root certificates. Now, if that doesn't mean much to you, let me explain. A root certificate means you can have command control of anything you want. You can change anything. You can change the credentials. You can pretend it's a totally different company. You can redirect everything and anything. So after they fell off their chair, GCHQ were involved. GCHQ blackballed us because they didn't want people to know of just how bad security is at national level. So, Todd, look, I have huge praise for what you guys are doing, but let me tell you this. I am unsure if the NSA or CIA want the world to have security. I don't think they do. I think they're quite happy with the chaos. I think they're quite happy with the walking both sides of the street. So at the moment, losses are $32 billion a day. That's being written off by companies who are reducing their tax liabilities, reducing their tax burdens. The executives are still drawing their bonuses and their pensions and everything else. We are seeing a massive economic decline because people aren't prepared to do their job, or they don't want to do their job. I don't understand what their motivation is. There's a great book. Yeah, there's a great book out recently called The Vassal State. If you don't know it, you should get it and read it. And it literally says, much the same as Carol Cadwalladr, if countries are relying on the security of US tech firms, they don't have security. That's quite a sad indictment because, you've got 5 of the world's biggest companies that are US tech giants providing suboptimal, insecure services to the world. That's a dangerous position.
Yeah, so that ties into the first question I had for you.
Oh,
where are these organizations most unprepared when it comes to the global intelligence and security today? If you were to narrow it down.
Yeah, I think that's a really tough question, Todd. Thanks for that. Look, I think people are, there's 2 narratives here. One is that, do you really want security, or do you want the perception of security, firstly? Secondly, I understand, look, I'm not looking for Christmas card lists here, but a lot of the technology firms are American-based and they work with the NSA because they were encouraged to, and it's why they are so successful, because they get the government contracts in hundreds of billions. And of course, there's favors left, right, and center. This is not news I'm giving you. This is fact. So you've got the situation whereby if you go to a major company that's in the intelligence space or the counterintelligence space, which we've tried to help NATO on a number of occasions, and others, the police force in the UK and the FBI, we actually helped the FBI. One of my personal referees was the head of the FBI in the UK. And he sent me a most beautiful letter the other day and said, Andy, you have the most integrity I've ever met of anyone. You're such a good guy. Well, let me tell you why that happened, because in 2020, we discovered all of the vote.govs pre-presidential elections in 2020 were being siphoned and sent to Korea. There was a Korean server inside the DNS of vote.gov. Yep. We discovered that and the FBI took it down. Okay, they never actually said thank you, but this guy has been a big fan ever since we did that. But so to go back to your question, Todd, I think, look, the biggest problem every organization and government have at the moment is they're lazy. They outsource everything, which is part of the strategy the NSA wanted and the technology giants, and they assume everything. They don't do any due diligence whatsoever. So, we're on Teams here. We're on Microsoft Teams. I can tell you it's compromised. Mm-hmm. Okay, fact. No matter where you are in the world, Microsoft servers are compromised. And I told that to, oh God, what's his name? Smith. I told it to Brad Smith in London in 2023. I took him aside and I said, here's a copy of my 3rd book. It's actually written about Microsoft and the Ukraine cyber wars, because Microsoft, think about this for a moment, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, although some people think I might be. Most of the websites that were attacked in Ukraine as a precursor to the kinetic attack are managed by Microsoft. Most of them weren't secure. You gotta say this is not good business. So again, when England is the worst, I'm obviously based in England. We outsource everything. We go to Google, Amazon, Microsoft. We never once check if they are adding security or adding exposure. We actually had this, Todd, recently whereby one of the London councils, they managed 5 councils for 3 million people in London, and they asked the legal representative that works with us to look at a contract to migrate from their on-prem servers to off-prem Amazon cloud. And I gave them a report and they said, oh, hold on, we're not interested in security. We just want to sign a centrally funded agreement.
Right.
So I said, are you aware of the adoption of the exposed positions for 3 million of your citizens and voters? They said, we don't care. It's centrally funded and signed off. And this is what's happening the world over. So you ask, are we just going to continue playing digital whack-a-mole? And I have to tell you, I think it's going to get worse. With the adoption of AI, with the utilization of AI to identify the security gaps that companies have. I don't know if you are aware, Stanford University in December did a program called Artemis, Artemis.
Mhm.
Artemis, and it took 10 of the US's top threat intelligence experts against one AI code written. And 9 of the 10 were beaten hands down by the AI to identify security gaps in 2 days. Now, you've only got to write another little program to say, now launch attacks against them.
And that actually leads into the second question.
How are we
Because
doing this? Todd,
Right.
how are we doing this?
It's because cybersecurity is still treated as a technical function in many
Mhm.
organizations.
Yeah.
Andy, why is that a problem at the global security level? At regular small organizations, if they just had intranets and they weren't looking at the outside, well, maybe they'd be safe. They have an on-prem server,
Mm.
they wouldn't care.
Mm.
But that's not reality. Almost all organizations, there has to be internet.
Mm. Well, it's interesting, Todd, because look, I can talk from experience. I remember about 22 years ago when the internet was a lot younger then, and all of us were too. My team, we had a BT, British Telecom truck outside our offices in Hove, and they cut through the cable, okay? And I had a 12-man team in the office, and they said, we can't work. There's no internet.
Right.
So what you say is perfectly true, because now there is such an over-reliance on technology for everything we do, from banking to phoning to paying bills to everything. We are totally reliant. So when I use this term digital colonization, we've got just far too fewer and no competition cartel type technology firms that are doing what they like. And AI is a case in point. I don't know if any of the people here are investors, but the investment trail of AI is the biggest bubble that's going to go boom soon, like the dot-com did. And I think quantum computing too, and blockchain and other things, because the reality is they're not delivering. They're over-promising and under-delivering. And AI, I can tell you, my professor friend in Australia, he sends me stuff 2 or 3 times a day. And the Australian government, like the UK government, had most of Five Eyes, if we think about it, they're adopting AI like it's going out of fashion. They're getting rid of staff. They're adopting AI. They don't realize how it's hallucinating, how it's plagiarizing information. I'm sure you can buy my books on AI or get them published on AI. But in that Fat Hunter, I need to see some of my book covers behind you there. So the long and short of it is AI is a useful tool, but people are putting their entire future on it. The economy of the UK, we have our rather foolish prime minister at the present time. We've had a string of them. They're saying, oh, we're going to build data centers. We're going to be AI. We're going to be leaders in AI. All that means is half the population won't have a job.
Yes.
and they won't, and they rely on AI, and AI will spend more on electricity, more on cooling, and less water and less power. There will be power grid cutouts and blackouts because of AI.
That leads into question 3, Andy, and you're right on the money. It does.
Do you know what? I wish I had a script. You haven't told me any of this. Either he's playing to me or I don't know, Derek.
No, everything works the way it's supposed to, right? We're talking
Okay.
about, the cooling effects and stuff like that. They're building
Yeah.
small, medium-sized nuclear reactors in these new data centers in specific places. Yes, it's all the hype. And yes, it's going to require water, and it's going to require a large amount of energy. And then how much of the problem in everything that you've just explained is either human decision making or technology?
I think the majority of it is decision making, because I'm sure everyone here knows, but AI goes back to Alan Turing days.
Yep.
AI has been around forever. Yes, it is more functional now, and that's great. But I think greed is driving that behavior.
For sure.
And that is a human capability, technology. And look, I've got a synopsis for this, and I actually I must patent it. I call it the satellite navigation syndrome. And you can use it whatever you want, but just refer it, say Andy said it. We all use satellite navigation in cars now.
Sure.
You get, I get in the car with my daughter and I say, "Oh, shall we go somewhere?" She said, "Well, put it in the satellite navigation." I said, "Well, hold on. Why don't we just use a map? Why don't we read the roads?" Dad, why bother?
You're
Now, it's
older.
interesting. If you take it one stage further, I couldn't tell you my girlfriend's phone number.
Whoopsie.
We've been together for 2 years. Because it's in my phone, I don't remember it. But if you go back 20 years, I could recite phone number after phone number. Fortunately, I've got a good memory, and I can just recite those. But now I just don't do it. Now AI is making that situation even worse. So people that didn't have a good memory might be able to remember some things or otherwise, but they also won't be able to do recall without AI. So again, if the internet goes down and they haven't got AI, they're going to go, "I can't do anything." It's a real dilemma.
It is.
But I think it's personal choice, Todd. And I think look, we all know of the investment cycle and the way things have gone. And most of these people drive behavior, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, and it's force fed upon citizens.
It is.
It's not always for the best.
Right. And then on top of that, when there are breaches and failures, what's the decision? It is the easiest one. Just pay it. Pay it so we can get our data back. And then that turns into a double extortion later on down the line.
Well, look,
sorry,
Todd, I interrupted you.
Go ahead.
Look, I urge everyone to go and watch this video. It's on YouTube. Dr. Chase Cunningham and Curtis, I don't know his surname, but he's one of the US leading ransomware negotiators. And I sat in on their meeting yesterday, and he was asked some pertinent questions. Dr. Chase is not dissimilar to me. He's the American version of Andy Jenkinson, I guess, where he's straight to the point and he calls it as it is. There's a few of us, but most want to protect their income, and their moral compass isn't always fixed. Let's put it that way. Consequently, the question was posed by Chase to Curtis. He said, when you go into the Fortune 500 companies that want you to negotiate on the ransom payment, whether the ransom demand is 10 million, they want you to negotiate and do a deal, get the data back. There's a number of really key points here. One, once you get the data back, is it complete? Two,
Correct.
once you get the data back and you've identified how the extraction and exfiltration of the data was achieved, are the incident response team just plugging holes, or are they going to do their job properly?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you put in any search engine what an incident response firm should be, whether it be a CrowdStrike or whether it be a Mandiant, whether it be whoever, take your pick. I can show you each one of those are wearing emperor's clothes today. Okay, because they're not doing the things comprehensively. It's almost this is good enough. It's as good as anyone else, so it doesn't matter. We could look at CMMC if you want, because CMMC is a critical US government compliance demand. Not
Right.
one of the US company suppliers, including Lockheed Martin, including Northrop, none of them are complying with their own regulations of the US government.
Correct. Even in government projects like that, which is
Which,
why we end up,
so you got to ask the
in
question.
espionage. Yes.
Exactly. What are we doing? If you look at the F-35, China have got an F-35 equivalent.
Yep.
Okay. They've got nuclear submarines, the equivalent. Immaterial of what your belief is on China, they are doing things better, quicker, cheaper, and they're getting the blueprints for free.
Sure.
Okay. The US government are letting them just have them because they're saying CMMC, yeah, we got another compliance issue. It's been around, I think, nearly 2 decades. CMMC. It's not enforced by anyone.
Right.
It's a joke.
You
So
just have to meet the threshold for the standard in order to be able to do government contracting. Yeah, there's always standards for everything. Most people meet them, but there's nothing beyond that. And there's no teeth
there's no
behind these agencies other than once something happens,
yeah.
because then there's a lawsuit. And most people don't realize how many thousands of lawsuits because of AI building these apps that are
Oh,
absolutely happening globally right now.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think the music industry, the book writing industry, lots of industries are going crazy because it's
Yep.
plagiarizing. You know, look at the Grok scenario where people were using Twitter, X now, as we must say, and they're using Grok to create nude images of people just from their face, and they're publishing them. So it's human beings have always looked to abuse situations, manipulate situations, and technology is no different. Technology was developed originally so academia and militaries and governments could share information.
Right.
Okay, it wasn't long after that, with DNS in 86, A386, PKI in mid 90s, they were already being abused from the word and the get-go, as your term earlier. They were already compromised from the get-go, and then people were forced to play digital whack-a-mole. And today, I'll give you an example of that. We have the National Health Service, okay, good, bad, or indifferent here in the UK. And I know I read a report recently, 300,000 people in America have gone bankrupt because they couldn't afford their health bills, okay, which is a very damning thing. But our health service, our National Health Service, is going to bankrupt the country, period. Okay, there's no question about that. But they keep giving contracts, multi-billion contracts to Palantir, Palo Alto, and Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and they're adopting the exposed positions. I had a conversation with the DPO, the Data Protection Officer, about a year ago now. And he said, "Oh, Andy, I said, but seriously, do you understand?" I wasn't trying to be rude, but he got my goat. I said, "Do you understand what a data protection officer is supposed to do?" And he said, "Yes, protect the data for the company." I said, "No, protect the data of the people whose data it is."
Yes.
You've got a conflict of interest. You're protecting the company, trying to pretend it's okay, and the people are suffering. It's a little bit like the 22 million people, David, you'll remember this, that had their data stolen for security clearance. I think they got $3 each. $66 million, 22 million times.
Do you know what they did for us government employees?
Go on.
They gave us 18 months of free security monitoring.
Yeah,
Yes.
lovely. Thanks for that. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And do you know what that does? Not only do you have to be careful not to renew, because if it renews, they start charging you automatically.
Yes.
Automatically.
But two, they're adding another layer of exposure.
Yes.
Right. And you know what? It was even like not even one of the big name brands. It was like some side brand. It wasn't,
Sure.
it was like a low bidder sort of scenario. So they could say that they did something.
Absolutely. They might just as well say, sod off, you're on your own.
Right.
They
Exactly.
might just as well say that. So
Right.
the reality on all of that, in my opinion, is these organizations, they don't ask for permission. They don't ask for forgiveness. It's up to the people that are signing contracts to say, hold on a minute, this needs to be put in place, or a penalty should you not do it. Because at the moment, citizens of the world, not UK, not UK, everywhere, they're buying services, they're paying billions, and at the front end, at the back end, when things go wrong because access is being achieved, and the incident response people don't look at this because they're a Microsoft partner or a Google partner or whatever, their protection is in place. They blame something else. Oh, it was a VPN. Oh, it was this. It was that. It was this. Oh, it's your website host. Whatever. We are all exposed. And we're exposed because we make assumptions. And those assumptions are that the tech giants actually have our interests at heart. And they don't.
They don't.
They just don't. I have fights. Eric, you'll see my stuff every day. I know you do. Thank you for that. The one I did today, about Albert Einstein. I know not what with the Third World War will be fought, but the fourth will be sticks and stones.
Yes.
We are at that point. And if you look, again, don't get me started with what's going on in America and Iran and other parts of the world. The playbook is the same every single time. It's been like it for 75 years.
Sure.
Cause a stir, cause chaos, cause disruption, come in like a cavalry and then take over. Find a more friendly US compliant leader. It's a nonsense. And we've got this throughout lots of countries in the digital space, whereby last year, I know France and Germany threw out Microsoft in their education system because they said it's just too compromised.
Yes.
Now, the sad thing about that, I don't know how deep a technology people are in the audience. The sad thing about that is they've gone to Linux, and Linux use Microsoft servers. So it's a case of how do you want to go, be shot or poisoned?
If I may,
Yes.
I would
Yeah.
like to disagree on your comment there, due to the fact that most Linux servers that are built do not built on any Microsoft infrastructure.
Fantastic. Well
Yet
done.
some people do.
Yes, of course. Well, it's not just that, Jean-Pierre. It's a case of if they use the internet and they're using Linux servers, they may be doubling up and hopping around the world.
Yes.
And they start touching Microsoft servers. Microsoft have got a third of the world's servers. Okay, so you're perfectly right. If they're compartmentalized and secure and segregated, fantastic. But the reality is, again, not being a conspiracy theorist, the NSA don't want compartmentalized. They don't want secure servers. They want access to them.
Sure.
Good,
They
bad,
do.
or indifferent.
So for everyone in the room, if leaders could change one thing today to improve global security decision making, what should it be?
Disconnect
thing.
everything.
You talked about the Fourth World War being sticks.
Yeah.
Looked how it was just inevitable. And I know I can get somebody from Venezuela to when you can go into a country and shut down everything for an operation like the size that just went and
Absolutely.
happened.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think it takes, especially with this new special weapon that they have? that is just the first time use, and they're not the first ones to use it, right? We know Russia used it in Cuba. They used their sonic weapon, and people were affected.
Yeah.
Being able to change one thing to improve global security, what should that be?
I would say be aware. Knowledge is power. And unfortunately, the vast majority of people, we've had conversations, Todd and David, Eric, and I have had many, many conversations. The vast majority of organizations and even CISOs, and I'm not going to have a pop at CISOs, don't know what they should be checking. And there's a reason for that. If we go back in history to the 86 DNS and 95 PKI, academia didn't teach these areas to any depth. They didn't teach these areas to any depth because they were told not to, predominantly by the NSA and Five Eyes. And as we all know, that the academia are the feeding ground for tomorrow's intelligence services. And what they didn't want to do, oh my God, look, I can't give you stats in America, but I can tell you 347 higher education schools suffered cyber attacks in 2024. That's nearly one a day. The average cost was £2.5 million. And not one of them, and I can promise you this, they all use Microsoft. And they all use a company called JISC, J-I-S-C.
Mm-hmm.
And JISC run a program called Janet, J-A-N-E-T, which is ja.net for their website. And not one of their servers are secure. So in England, again, because I'm English, I can give you these stats. 10 million higher education pupils and all of the staff at all of the academia, colleges, universities, all exposed to cybercrime and fraud. And when I showed them this, they threatened to sue me. Ask the question why that might be. How incredible is that? I could give you now, let me ask you a question, show of hands, just because, how many of you understand a website and the IP address? Yeah. So you know that if the IP address resolves, that also needs to have a valid digital certificate.
Yep.
Okay. So I could give you a JISC.ac.uk website now. You could see the IP address. You could go to the IP address and you see it's not secure. And you go, how the hell are they doing that? You've got to have the certificate must be also for the subject alternative name. And yet for 5 years, even with pushing it down their throat, they're still doing it. You've got to ask the question, is this a strategy? Do they offer cybersecurity services? Of course they do. Do they offer technology and networking? Yes, of course. Are they benefiting from both ends of exposure and delivery? Yes, they are. Again, if you look at the Purdue family who made OxyContin in America, it cost the US $1 trillion. They made billions of dollars from making OxyContin, and over 1 million people have died. No one seems to give a toss. Nobody. And they just go, oh yeah, we're going to, they actually bribed the director of health in America, and he then became an employee of the Purdy family that made it because of it. You look at DuPont, they were dumping toxic waste, PFPT, into the rivers, killing people. And they said, we don't want to pay a fine. DuPont, what the hell has gone wrong with the world? And here we are in modern day technology. We are all buying technology that is not fit for purpose. It's adding complexity and exposure to every single email, every communication, every phone call. Phones have got spyware in them from the get-go. They're issued with spyware, for crying out loud. This is about control. And again, I don't want to, I love him to pieces. If you've not seen him, Professor Jeffrey Sachs, you should really look out for him. He's telling the world what the playbook is, and everyone's just going, yeah, it's fantastic. He's perfectly right, but no one's doing anything about it. Go on, Eugenia. You want to ask Eugenia?
Yes, Andy, thank you very much. I came a little bit late to the conversation, so I might have missed a part, but I know Todd intervened and he was just making a reference to Venezuela, and especially with this topic I really didn't go in depth reading this article, but I liked the introduction by Linda Restrepo. It's called Who Holds the Switch? So I'm just going to quickly read it for you, and if you have any comment to add,
send it to me, please. Send it to me.
Will do.
I was interviewed about 2 months ago now for the leading Swiss journal paper. I forget the name of it. And a guy said to me, you've done some studies on the F-35, Andy, haven't you? I said, yes, I have. I've actually done a paper. It was presented to the J3, who then decided that they would ignore it. And I think 3 F-35Bs have ejected pilots. Eric, you'll know, but a lot of people might not know, the F-35 obviously is $1 trillion program, and they're selling these planes, the jet fighter, to all over the world. Well, the reason for the interview was this guy was a Swiss journalist, and he was doing a piece on whether they should be buying several of these F-35s at $100 million a piece. And he said, I keep hearing something about a kill switch. And I said, okay, all right, yes, understandable. So he said, could I interview you over it? And I said, yes, not only interview, but I'll show you the report, and anyone's welcome to my reports. And we showed that Lockheed Martin and Martin Baker, who make the ejector seat, and Green Hill Software, who make the operating system for them, are all compromised. 100% compromised, not one single mention of CMMC in there. And the F-35, they make 3 variants, just for those that don't know. The A is the short, I always get these mixed up, the short or the long for an aircraft carrier. The C is the other one for the long normal. But the B is the vertical takeoff. And the B is the only variant that has an automatic ejector seat. It doesn't require a pilot interaction. And the reason for that is because the pilot's too busy at the time to coordinate the liftoff. And over the last 5 years, 3 F-35Bs have ejected the pilot unwittingly and crashed. And the last one, I think, was in South Carolina, I think in September 23, I think it was. And the pilot was interviewed. He landed in someone's garage, garden. And they said, well, what happened? He said, I have no idea. I was flying and now I was ejected. Now, could it be that someone has compromised the operating system or the ejector seat or the plane and ejected the pilot at will? And the answer is yes. Unbelievably so. Could the Dali have taken out the Baltimore Bridge because a GPS waypoint was added to crash into the bridge? Yes, absolutely. Were any of these organizations secure? No. Were they all connected to the internet? Yes. Now, you've got real questions to pose there, and this is time after time. But Eugenia, in Ukraine, my 3rd book, I've written 4, but I've not published a 4th yet. In my 3rd book, it is called Digital Blood on Their Hands. It's about the Ukraine war and Russia. And on the 24th of February, they actually attacked Connecticut and went in. On the 22nd of January, they launched 7 and took over 70 Ukraine websites, including critical national infrastructure. And if you look it up, if you're not familiar with it, it's called Black Energy. They've been doing it for a long time, which is the kill switch to take out power. Okay, so these are very real live events. And In Spain last year, you'll all be familiar and remember that there was no power in the entire country for the day. That's called saber rattling, technology style. Okay, pure and simple. Spain had ruled against supporting Israel's attacks on Gaza, and Spain, within days, had a power strike across the entire country. These things aren't coincidence. Okay, and the point that we're making here is, going back to Todd's first opening salvo, if you are reactive, you've already lost. If your power grid, your water and supply, your communications aren't secure by design, and I'm not talking about bullshit security, I'm talking about proper security. If they're not secure, you are just waiting for it to happen. And I could show you, you could name any company. In fact, if you want to, for fun, say, Andy, I'll give you a challenge. I'll name a company. You show me within 10 minutes how it's exposed. I'll take that challenge any day of the week. I don't care which company it is. That's how pathetically unacceptable security is taken. Is it because I'm a genius? No. Is it because I've studied the things that I believe need to be studied? Yes. Am I blackballed with 300 trolls because of it? Yes. Are they all connected to GCHQ and the NSA? Yes. But the bottom line is, do we want security, or do we want the perception of security, because the global economy is collapsing? And I've got another analogy for that. I call it pothole syndrome. South African government, terrible. I love South Africa, by the way. I was in South Africa a number of years ago. I stayed at Vekeleken, if I've pronounced that right. I love it. It's a beautiful part of the world, but
Just saying, in the city?
just outside Cape Town, Vekeleken. Anyway, I love it there. And I met he came here and I met your very senior person. And I have to tell you, he asked me to look at it for him. And I said, this is really bad. It's really, really bad. And I guess it's a little bit, but don't take that to heart, because most countries are. We've helped a number of governments who genuinely, the Bank of England aren't secure. The Bank of England. When the Bank of New Zealand central bank had a cyber attack, I went to them and said, well, what about all these things? What are you doing? But interestingly, look, my journey and my education in DNS and PKI has been self-inflicted. And I immersed myself for the last 8 years in this area. And the beauty of that is, God bless him, Steve King, rest his soul, he named me the global expert in 2022 when he did that piece, Eric. I don't know if you remember that piece.
Yeah, I do. It was such a sad time when he died. It was a shock.
Well, he made me a fellow of the Cyber Theory Institute and did that piece at the same time.
Yeah.
But the sadness to me is it's taken these massive attacks, SolarWinds being one of them. SolarWinds was a DNS attack. Sigred was a DNS issue that went for 17 years with Microsoft. The CVE 2020-1350, 17 years. And yet in 2008, they were told they had DNS issues, but nobody wanted to listen. So we've now evolved to a position whereby I think this area is starting to be better understood. It's still not on our incident response team's profile, which is sad. So it means people are paying out and not getting the security they really hoped they were. But the other guy that's really worth noting, Eric, is Bob Carver. When he was at Verizon, after he's no longer there, so I can talk about it. The red team, which are the team that do the threat attacks, okay, they actually tabletop playbook, how they can attack and get into a company. He said to me in 2023, he said, Andy, I can tell you, I'm very pleased. Verizon have now adopted DNS as part of their red teaming. So I said, well, I'm delighted. Thank you very much. I'm flattered. And I said, but what does that mean? It means up until now, they've never looked. No one's ever looked. Think about that. Now, the incident response organizations around the world are missing a trick. DNS can be manipulated in so many ways, including MX, mail exchange servers, and you can take over command control very, very easily if you know what you're doing. And you can implant, as Eugenia just said, you can implant a kill switch. Another question. Hope it's an easy one.
No, because you just mentioned command control, and I'm getting into the cybersecurity world, but I still have to get the basics. So you're saying command control, and do you refer, you mean when you mask the DNS, or am I asking I don't know if it's correct to ask it in this way. But like you reach command control at the end once, I'm assuming like you go through certain steps.
Yeah. Eugenia, what I'll do is if Todd's happy, I'll send back some papers and Todd can circulate them. And it'll give you a great visual as well as technical information. Command control isn't specific to DNS. It can be to very many attack vectors. The reality is that if someone takes over command control, they are acting as you. Okay, so for example, in the case of finance, if someone takes over command control of your account, they can actually extract all your money, change the passwords, lock you out, and you go, "What happened?" That's a
Okay,
simple one.
so command control could mean I'm just like making the reference to the latest article from Linda Restrepo, and I didn't get into the technical, but that's exactly could be the $1 billion
Absolutely.
defense systems. Could be the
But
bank.
Eugenia, I've a belief that because the world has, again, you use these sayings as you wish, they digitally colonized the entire world without firing a shot, without launching any war.
Mhm.
They have the ability to kill switch everything. If I was to tell you, we've had a lot of issues around data sovereignty. Are we all right for time, Todd?
We are. In about a
Okay.
few minutes, I'm going to start the
Okay.
AEGIS presentation.
All right.
So
Thank you.
continue. That's great. Go ahead.
Thank you. Eugenia, in the UK and Europe, we're no longer part of it, really. We've had a number of issues around data sovereignty, okay? And that's a really critical issue. But what no one realizes is because of the DNS server estate, a copy, a BCC, you're familiar with an email, you send a copy to someone and you say, oh, I want to send it to my friend as well, so they got a copy of it. You BCC them. Well, the servers are BCCing their own servers based in America. That's not data
Okay.
sovereignty, that's manipulation. Now, the worst thing about that is those servers aren't secure. So not only have you not got data sovereignty, but the manipulation of that data being sent to data centers based and servers based in America aren't secure. They're not using DNSSEC, so they are exposed to DNS attacks, amongst other things.
Okay.
Go on, Todd, as you wish. Have I not got another question?
No. We're right at the point of the audience questions. If there are more, we're hoping they're on intelligence integration, cybersecurity strategy. I'm pretty sure Jean-Pierre probably has a few questions, workforce readiness. And I think workforce readiness is the key. And that's exactly why we're here, is to illuminate on AEGIS, which is an analytical engine for global intelligence and security. And it's a first for red teaming, blue teaming, and purple teaming. Developing simulations, participants learn to operate under uncertainty. They learn to manage escalation and then to understand the consequences. And the object is not tool proficiency because, like Andy said earlier, there are specific tools for specific threat vectors, attack vectors, and everything that need to be used. And then there's the investigation. What do you use to figure that out? How do you figure it out? And so it's such a mundane task. Yes, there are red team scenarios. There are war gaming out there, left and right, but they're for prizes. They're not for educational benefits to help the other communities. These ISACs are out there to exchange information, and well, there are many different ways of understanding a MITRE attack or something that's happening. Even what's new is quishing. Using a QR code is quishing that now. We saw once they used a little mechanism over top an ATM, and it got your information. Now it's embedded in a QR code, and you have no clue whether that QR code is actually meant for that.
On the strategy side, Todd, can I just tell you a very quick story?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it might be pertinent to what you guys are doing, because the red, blue, and purple teaming. Two friends of mine, CISOs, 20 years CISOs, time served, technology directors, then CISOs, etc. A normal route. And they both got new jobs. And I know there's supposedly 6 million gaps to fill, which is utter bullshit, but they both got new jobs. And they don't know each other, and I had two separate conversations. And I said, tell me, candidate A, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going into this big company, it's a PLC, a public limited company, and you've got, the weight of the world on your shoulders. What are you going to do? And at the same time, not literally, but, the same day, I posed the same question to the other guy. Same background, same credentials, same seniority, same certifications, CISSP, blah, 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 blah. So the first guy said to me, that's a good question, Andy. My strategy is I'm going to look at all of the software that's inside the organization that we actually use. And I said, oh, okay. So how long do you think that'll take? He said, maybe 2 months, 3 months, but I'll get my feet under the table. I'll understand what we've got there. I said, okay, all right. The other guy, candidate B, said, Andy, the first thing I'm going to do is see what's connected to the internet. And I said, you win the prize. What's going on inside is of no consequence, because if anyone can get access to it, that's where you want to stop it. Perimeter defense. Right. If you don't have perimeter defense, you've got zero defense. Castles, I love this analogy. I didn't come up with it, but I love it. Castles, they've got 50 feet walls. You can't climb up over them. It's really hard. That's for defense. This is no different. Technology, there's nothing new under the sun. We are where we are. If you don't protect the perimeter and anyone can walk in, take the crown jewels and walk back out, what matters? Does it matter what color the jewel is? Of course not. They've got it. We had that obviously at the Louvre recently. Interesting. If you didn't see my paper on that, Todd.
No. I was there the week before. I honestly had no.
You scoped it.
I did not. Yeah, I took photos. I was not inside. I did not go inside.
Todd, do you know I wrote a paper for the Louvre and the French police, because you're right about terrorism in France. They ignored it, but 3 days before the heist, they took over command control of the servers of the Louvre. Why do you think that might be?
Well, it was an inside job with the construction workers. They were pretty smart, knew exactly where to go.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Look, none of these things are coincidence. In our business, we don't think of coincidences. You bump into someone or you see something that's happened, there's no coincidence. This stuff is going on every day. But I think we just got to prioritize. So the strategy, Todd, the bit that I'm very keen to work with you guys on and make sure that you're giving this to your clients, is the strategy must be we bite the elephant one chunk at a time, but let's make sure we've got control of it first. Because otherwise, if we're trying to chase it as well, we're in big trouble.
And we've been doing a pretty good job of running behind the train for so long, it's just too much of a task for any organization to try to keep up with. And there's several out there like Kaspersky or, what was the other one? Norton.
Mm.
Yeah, it's very difficult. Semantics, yes. It's very difficult.
But you know what? If you want,
keep
I'll
up.
produce a paper for you. Not one of them are secure.
Right.
Because they're not doing their job properly and no one's holding them to account.
It's too much work.
You go to, look, here's a point. Here's a point I'd make to you. You go to, you say, I want to start up a new company today. And you go to your local website producer, or you do it in-house, whatever. And they go, oh, yeah, look, we've got all these beautiful visual graphics. We've got all of this wonderful stuff here with the log-on page. People can buy things from us. So we're going into the realms of PCI, DSS, and other areas that we need to comply with. Not one of them build it securely.
No.
Oh, we've gone to Cloudflare. Well, Cloudflare are using deprecated protocols for every single one of their name servers.
That's right.
And you go, well, okay, they say it's for functionality, but it exposes us.
Sure.
They've just paid a 14 million fine in Italy and said, oh, we're going to pull out of Italy because of the fine. Great, get gone. Maybe people will have to do their job properly.
So then the only places left, if Cloudflare is removed from that system, is the host itself.
It's the best way.
It is the best way. It is the best way.
Look, again, going back to history, the reason cloud computing, which is just someone else's computer, cloud computing became so popular is because the NSA wanted to get the data in less points that they could harvest.
Sure.
That's it. And of course, then we've all moved from ownership to renting. Yeah. And now the renting charges just keep increasing and increasing, and the dependency is there. And if you've got a problem, that's tough.
Yes.
Well, that's one of the things that I said to Todd that we need to do is to actually get away from being in the rental space and actually start setting up your own infrastructure at baseboard. Yeah. And that's where I come back to my baseboard would be a Linux substrate because number one, a decent, not even using the UFW of Linux, because that's got some holes in between sometimes as well. Mm-hmm. So I've been looking at CSF, which has got a very good firewall. Yeah. And build the bridges accordingly so that at the end of the day, the back end is very secure. Yes. Yes, there is holes that's going to be coming in. Like if you leave 25 open, anybody can come in. Hello.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Do you know, I had Jean-Pierre, I had a situation with a friend of mine. If anyone knows, the worshipful companies in England are one away from the Masons, really. They are part and parcel. And the worshipful company of IT security professionals is like a who's who of MI5, MI6, and GCHQ, okay? Either current or retired. So I got invited along to this meeting, and I met with the chair. I won't name him. And he said to me, Andy, you're a very smart guy. He didn't know me. You're a very smart guy. He said, would you write a paper, which was the one I wrote on called the Modern Digital Enigma of Certificates. So I wrote this paper and he published it in what's known as the Digital Forensics magazine that they run. So he rang me and he said, Andy, that's fantastic. You've got 30,000 followers on LinkedIn. Would you publish it, please? And I said, sure, Roy, send me the link. I've said his name. Sure, Roy, send me the link and I'll be delighted. Of course, I'm flattered. It's an article I've written. So he sent me a link and I had to phone him back. I said, Roy, we've got a problem. So he said, well, what's the problem? I said, it's not secure. The website's not secure. I can't publish an article, no matter how wonderful I think it might be, on a not secure website. It makes me look a fool. So he said, Andy, what are you talking about? I put the digital certificate on there. I've got 35 years GCHQ. I'm an expert. I said, right, I don't want to argue, but it's a not secure website. Andy, please. Anyway, I said, Roy, please, just go on the link you sent me. And he's on the phone. He goes, "Oh, fuck, it's not secure." So I go, "Roy, I never lie. I'm like Cassandra. I don't lie." So I said, "Do you want me to help you?" He said, No, I'm an expert. I don't. About 30 minutes goes by. He phones me up and he said, "Andy, I can't find the problem. Why is it not secure? The digital certificates from this company, that is valid." So I said, do you want me to help you?" He said, "Yes, please." I said, "Stay on the phone." Blah, 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 blah. I said, Port 80 is not redirecting to 443.
Mhm.
It's not even using the certificate. It's still running HTTP unencrypted text. Now, it had been like that for some time, for over a year, and the auto renew on the certificate. And I said to Roy, look, it's not the case that, you've made a mistake. People make mistakes. That's fine. Who is on your database in the servers that can get access through that unencrypted, not secure website? Their contact details, all their PII data. They could be blackmailed. They are very senior people in the intelligence community. The error is catastrophic. Anyway, within 2 minutes, he redirected 80 to 443 and he said, "Thank you very much." It's as simple as that. Sometimes it can be as simple a mistake as that sometimes. And if you're not looking and you don't know to look and you ignore the perimeter, some people, they did a study in Australia about 5 years ago, and it was a website that was a commerce website. You could buy things from it. And they did this as an experiment. Over 90% of people still clicked on it when it was not secure and put their details in.
Right.
It showed not secure, and over 90% people. And when, Eugenia, you understand what that means? The not secure in the address bar, your new.
Yes,
All right.
that
It
that I
means don't go near it. Come away.
yes.
Okay, because it could be a spoof website. It could be what we know as an evil twin website. Capturing your data, you think you're on a login page. Logins are the most notorious. And for cyber criminals to get command control of a login website means they can take over control of everything. They can be the finance director. Renault, I think in France, have paid over 150 million euros by spoof emails from the CEO to the accounts team because they didn't have control of the mail exchange servers.
Mhm.
Just shocking. I had it last year, and I won't name the guy because he's in America. Eric, you'll certainly know him. He's in the insurance business, and he rang me on a Tuesday. This was 18 months ago, maybe. And he rang me on a Tuesday and he said, "Andy, we've got a problem." I said, "What do you mean we got a problem?" "We don't have a problem." "What's your problem?" He said, "My brother-in-law runs a venture capital firm." I won't name them. And he said, "And they've just done some new business with a firm in America, and they were expecting a $6.2 million payment on the Friday." Okay, I understand. So he said, "Well, the problem is um, on the Friday, 4:15, we have Poets' Day here in England called Piss Off Early Tomorrow Saturday. You have a similar thing, I'm sure." Okay. So he said at 4:15 on the Friday, his brother-in-law, the owner of the venture capital firm, said to his sidekick, "Has that money come in yet?" And he said, "I'll check." And he said, "No, it hasn't come in." He said, "Don't worry, they're a new client, it'll come in, it'll be here Monday." So they go off and have a beer and go for the weekend. On the Monday, they come in and he said, "Oh, check that account to see if that $6.2 million is in." He goes, "It's not in." He said, "Oh, there must be an error. Phone them up." So they phone him up and the guy says, "Did you get our money okay?" And he said, "I'm phoning you, so I haven't got it." So he said, "Well, I paid it to the account that you emailed me to send it to on Friday." So he said, "What, you've made the payment?" "Yes, to the account that you sent an email to me on Friday morning." So my guy, who's phoning me and said, "We've got a problem," is in the insurance business. And he's insuring his brother-in-law's venture capital business. And he said, "I've got a dilemma. The 6.2 million has gone missing. They've not got it. The company's paid it. They've got an email from the company that's supposed to receive it, but it's a spoof email. Someone's man in the middle attack." So I said, well, let me look at it and I'll come back to you. It took us less than an hour to find, and no disrespect to South Africa, it was a setup in South Africa that had intervened, got man in the middle attack, redirected and re-spoofed the email with the new bank account details, and the 6.2 million was paid to the wrong people. So my guy says to me, well, what should I do? I said, if I were you, and that happened several months before, they were just monitoring new accounts and opening and money transfers to redirect. I said to my guy, I'd refuse to pay it if it was me. He said, but it's my brother-in-law. I said, well, 6.2 million because they didn't check their own websites. They'd lost command control of a website several months earlier, and it was a subdomain. And Eugenia, again, you'll get to know this. You'll have a top-level domain, and you'll have subdomains underneath it. And subdomains are the bane of everyone's life because you'll have the digital team or a new product launch, and they go, oh, yeah, add another subdomain to it. And then they forget about it. Well, that's the worst thing you can do. Consequently, this subdomain had lost command control. They'd taken over the email mail exchange server, intervened, got 6.2 million for the privilege, and my insurance friend made the payment. Now, if we stop and think about the global economy for a minute, not just the players within that, $32 billion a day is lost to cybercrime. 32 billion. Now, 32 billion, 10 trillion a year, $10 trillion a year. Okay, 900 odd billion dollars a month. All because of these situations I'm explaining to you. They're not 0 days. People aren't buying nation state 0 days to do this. They're just using now AI to go, there's a website that's not secure. There's a server that's not secure. Exfiltrate the data. What can we harvest from it? If we can't harvest something really worthwhile, just sell the data on the dark web. You can get credentials, a person's credit card credentials on the dark web for about $5. Mm-hmm. It's for nothing. Okay, and then I'm sure you have it in all your different countries. We have it here, and we've got our own TV program for it, Scam Alert, where people are ringing up and saying, I'm your bank. My dad has it. He's 83, my dad, and he has it all the time. Andy, he said, the bank's phoning me up and saying there's suspicious activity on my account. Can I change the password and give it to them? That's what they do. Yep. And here's the bit that nobody wants to own up to. The banks are responsible because they're not protecting your data. It's not because the scammers and the cyber criminals are smart, intelligent, superhuman beings. It's because the organizations aren't protecting the data sufficiently. People don't want to know that. We have a saying, people don't want to be told they've got an ugly child.
That's true. Andy.
South Africa.
Yeah, Andy, we appreciate your time today. Eugenia has some questions, and I'm sure if anybody else does, we're going to wrap this up and go through the little demonstration that we have for our viewers. Okay. All of this will be available in our community after this. No editing needed, and we always like giving it raw and unfiltered. That way they can assume what they want. We don't put little bloopers over customers.
I never found out what Dr. Hunter Taylor does. I'd like to know, please.
My background's in the history of science and medicine.
Ah, okay. Oh, so you know about the oxycodone nonsense and stuff.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the Sacklers. I have like about 4 or 5 books on the issue, and some weird personal experience. I think I've told the story. I got injured playing soccer, footy, and in 2002 when I lived in New York, I was a goalie. A guy basically ran through me And he was about my size. I'm not dainty. And I went to my doctor and he didn't give me a few oxys. He gave me like 60.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because, you know, the pain management is still considered important, but
Absolutely.
it's funny, my wife, who was a lawyer at the time, I sort of went to her and said, should we sell these? I mean, what am I going to do with this much? Because I don't have a particularly addictive personality, and so once the pain control was managed, I wasn't very interested in it. I don't understand what people get out of it, but when you're prescribing that much for a fairly routine injury, you can understand how it can get out of control.
Well, the business model for the company was incredible, and the business model for the doctors prescribing it was incredible, but people were dying. They were ODing and getting addicted on it. It was a painkiller, but it was effectively a lot more than that when you opened it and cut it up. So, look, we've got a firm belief that the cybersecurity industry follows that model. In as much that the pharmaceutical world doesn't really want to cure anyone. They just want to keep them on a treadmill. It's good for business. War, look, again, don't start me on war. War is good for business. The military industrial complex control everything, which is why they should be held to a better standard of account, but they're not.
Yeah, military history is my sideline, so.
Yeah. Well, you'll be all too familiar. So, one of my team, her referee was the late Colin Powell. She wrote the CSERT for the United States and Australia. So, yeah. But, look, some people loved him, some people hate him. Some people like Rumsfeld, some people don't, the unknown unknowns. But there you are. Okay, so look, do you want me to sit in on this, Todd?
That's entirely up to you. We wanted to invite you today. We appreciate all of your information.
My pleasure.
This exchange was an amazing endeavor. We wanted it to go well, and it did. And we had some audience questions. Yeah, I mean, everything flowed nicely. Global intelligence really only matters if it improves the security decisions. And these decisions is what AEGIS is. It's designed more as a teaching instrument. And, when you have many off-the-shelf products, but what's out there other than small little rooms that help you, forums and stuff like that. And you're still, it's better to have participants learn to operate under uncertainty in a controlled environment so that they can manage escalation.
Yeah.
And
ultimately, Todd, all we are ever interested in, me personally, is my moral compass is always fixed. Okay, always fixed. It can never be moved.
Nope.
All we want is one version of the truth, so people can make a decision whether they do the right thing or take the risk. There's no middle ground.
And that's the first thing they teach leaders, the ability to make a decision.
Absolutely, yeah. And who wrote that book? I think it's he interviewed 200 CEOs, and at the end of the book, the final chapter, he said, one thing I've learned is that CEOs make decisions. They're good at making decisions. They're not always right decisions, but they make another decision if they make a wrong one.
Yes.
Procrastination is the thief of time.
And anyone in our organization knows I make a lot of decisions, some good, some bad.
Right. Look, if you don't mind, I'll watch this later. I'll watch your presentation later because I haven't eaten for today and I need to. It's 18:30 here, 6:30 in the evening.
And that's perfect. You'll see this video along with the demo in our community whenever you're ready to walk.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'll send you some emails with some stuff that you can circulate if you so choose to.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay, and anyone can email me anytime. I'm a very easygoing guy.
Yeah, just jump in the community and put everything you want in there.
Okay, done.
Thanks,
welcome.
Andy. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
Andy.
Thank you. Take
Thanks,
care.
Andy.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.